Well, good morning, good morning, everybody. We've not quite gone live yet. Something has to flash. There we are. We are live. Good morning, everybody. Is it the 1st of July today? Could it be the 4th of July weekend, this weekend? Would I, as a Brit, want to celebrate the 4th of July this weekend? Well, nobody's invited me. So maybe everybody else thinks that I don't want to celebrate. I was talking to Chris earlier about what the 4th of July actually means, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. So I hope you're all ready for this. Before we begin, I would first of all like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who as always is right by my side. And I would also like to say good morning to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Rosemary. Good morning, everyone.
And do we have anyone? Is there anybody there, Chris?
People are just starting to log on.
Okay. All right then. So for those of you around the world, excuse me, who are not familiar or don't even know or give a second thought to what we do here in the USA, and why would you? I should say, the United States celebrates the 4th of July weekend of this coming weekend. So is the 4th of July actually on a Saturday? I'm not sure, or a Sunday. It's on Sunday. And so the 4th of July is a massive celebration in the USA because it signals the end of the war with the British, and and it signals independence. The United States achieved independence on the 4th of July. I'm not actually sure which year it was. Which year was it, Chris? Do you know? 18 something, 17 something? I'm not
Sorry,
sure.
I was reading chats. I wasn't paying attention. I think 1776 is what you're saying.
Yeah. So okay, so that's however many years ago that was. It's not quite 400 years ago, but anyway, it is 4th of July, signalling independence. And I was asking Chris what independence meant to her, and I think, Chris, you said freedom, right?
Yes.
But independence means something different to me. Independence to me means the ability to be able to use your mind in whatever way you want to use your mind. To the dependency of family is important to us. So I never want to be independent or have freedom from my family. But I do want to be heard. I do want to be listened to sometimes. I do want to be acknowledged. And I think that if you're an independent woman or an independent being, man, whatever, it does not mean that you're requiring necessarily freedom, but you do have the freedom. Independence gives us the freedom to choose. So I choose in so many ways to be dependent on my daughter and my grandson. Not in a financial way, not in that way at all, but to be dependent on them for their listening to me, for their attachment to me, for their love for me. They feed me and they feed my soul, as I hope that I feed them, and as I hope I feed their soul also. So I think maybe we should start the ball rolling this morning by asking people, what does independence mean to you? And just before we started this show, Chris, can I just share what happened just before this show?
Absolutely.
So just before the show, Chris was saying, as I just said, she considers that independence means freedom. And in a way it does, except that her husband is agreeing with my version of what independence means, because he was sitting here chatting to us, looking at me now, chatting to us. and saying that independence to him is the choice, or having the choice to be dependent or otherwise, to do what it is that you want to do without harming other people, without distressing other people if we can. But he was saying that he chose to be part of his family. He chose to stand by Chris's side. He does not want freedom from you, Chris. He knows full well that he wants to be still a part of his family and a part of your life. So we're curious. What does independence mean to people who are listening in? And for all of you who are in other parts of the world, you might have an opinion also. You might, you might, yes. Well, let's see if we've got some comments and some questions going on this morning. Chris.
Well, Diana says independence means to me to be able to live out my life fully, all the way through to 100 plus, on my own, and yet surround and have the support of those I love.
Oh, well, I like that very much. So that's a that's a good take on independence. We could celebrate that on Sunday, couldn't we? Okay, keep going, Chris.
Cheryl says independence to me means doing something I have a passion for, even if I am not supported in that quest.
Well, yes. I mean, sometimes we need to do things that we have a passion for. We need to do things that perhaps we don't necessarily get support for from others. But yes, again, it is being able to choose, having the freedom to choose, to do something, to say something, to be someone who who you'd like to be. Yesterday, Chris and I had the best experience. Um, we talked to our bottom brickers, or three of our four bottom brickers. We're hoping to gather the fourth one when she's able to do that with us. But we gathered together the bottom brickers. Some of you are thinking, and what does that mean? You've got to catch up, really. Our bottom brickers are those people who volunteered to come on live and talk about their issues. And I did with them what is called the bottom brick exercise, which is finding that first brick in the wall of protection that we all build up around ourselves. And our first brick, that first moment in our lives, it could be when we were very small, or it could be when we're teenage or whatever, that very first brick, the foundation that is laid as we grow older and as we become more protective of ourselves, as we become shyer, as we sort of lose our self-confidence, let's say, as we develop this lack of self-worth, those bricks keep piling up, piling up, piling up until we build a wall, a big fat wall around ourselves. And the problem with that is, yes, we might feel that we're protected hiding behind the wall, but we end up being trapped behind the wall. So I always think it's important to find that first little worm, that first little drop of poison, that first bottom brick. What caused us to begin to make the wall, to build the wall? What was it that sort of we felt necessary to protect or to hide ourselves from? And this is a great exercise. We did it in May. We did this exercise in May. We had 4 volunteers, and every week we did a bottom brick exercise with them. We are, by the way, going to be doing more bottom brick exercises. So please, if you would like, you feel you're a candidate for that, email us, Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaLtea.com. We will consider your request to become a bottom bricker. It's sort of become a club, really, hasn't it, Chris? It's just quite amazing.
It's a shared experience for sure.
Yeah, Chris is a bottom bricker. She did the bottom brick exercise a long time ago. A lot of my students are bottom brickers, as they've started to call themselves bottom brickers. So we're collecting quite a few bottom brickers along the way. So each week throughout the month of May, because as we all know, this year is the 25th anniversary of the first publication of the Eagle and the Rose, which is quite astounding in itself, quite an achievement in itself. And So we had 4 people on each week. We did the bottom brick exercise, and what we then did was we invited those people back to tell us, um, about their experience, to tell us, did it help? Did you use what you learned? Because a lot of people, as you know, there's the world is never short of advice, whether good or bad. The world is never short of advice, but it is our choice to take that advice or not to take that advice. So when you're doing the bottom brick exercise, you learn a lot. You have a choice. Now you can walk away and never think about it ever again, or you can think about it, you can have a revelation, you can be inspired by it, and it could, in fact, change your life for the better. So we had 3 of our bottom brickers on yesterday to talk about, first of all, how they viewed the exercise, and then, what difference did it make. We had a blast. We had revelations. We had some amazing revelations, right, Chris?
It was really enlightening and surprising, and I was so happy for them.
It really was. It was so fantastic. So we are going to be putting that up for you all to view. Chris, when?
With any luck today, we'll see how it works.
So Chris has got to upload and download, and we're not going to edit or cut pieces out of it. I don't, I think that when I said earlier, we were talking about it earlier this week, it's going to be live to tape, which means that in TV jargon or film jargon, it means that we film it live, it goes straight to tape, and we don't touch it after that. So it's not going to be edited. It's just going to be, tidied up a little bit, and then as soon as Chris has managed to do that, uploading and downloading and all the rest of it, we'll inform you that you can now view another great hour of bottom brickers. And wait, just I can't wait. And we want comments from everybody here. We want comments on what you think, on what you think that these lovely girls said to us. What did you think about their attitude? What do you think about the bottom brick exercise? And would you like to volunteer for the bottom brick exercise? So we want to hear from you. But we're going to be putting that out either sometime today, or if not, definitely tomorrow. So that's exciting. And when I was thinking about these ladies talking of their experiences and the things that they did, I think the bottom brick exercise did help them in the independence area. It helped them to have courage. It helped them to dare. In one case in particular, boy, oh boy, did she ever dare to do the thing that she's always wanted to do, but procrastinated over forever and ever. And you'll see, again, you'll find it as fascinating. Well, I hope you'll find it as fascinating as I did, listening and talking to them. So that's going out later today. So back to independence. Independence to me means choice, having a choice, not being dependent on somebody else, not being necessarily dependent on a way of having to earn your living which restricts you. Now, we all are dependent on other people in so many ways. There's nothing wrong with that as long as we're happy, as long as our choices are good ones. There's nothing wrong whatsoever about being dependent on other people. But if you're going to be dependent on them, can they also depend on you? So you have to be dependent, and strongly and able to say to others, here's my shoulder, lean on my shoulder. So if we're going to be dependent on others, as I am dependent on my daughter, and as I'm dependent on my grandson, because they are the 2 little beings in this world that give me the greatest and the most wonderful joy. I'm going to hold on to them. I wonder if they're dependent on me also. I tried to get my daughter to understand that she's got to stand on her own 2 feet, but that's not quite the same as being um, dependent. I think she would say that she's dependent on me uh, for conversation. She's dependent on me in that she runs things by me. She called me at some silly hour this morning to talk about, of all things, garden chairs. But she wanted to run things by me. So, we have that great relationship, which means that we are dependent on each other for so many things. So, all of you out there who are striving for independence, be careful what you wish for and make sure that you are dependent on those you want to be dependent on. And sometimes you're dependent on people you don't want to be dependent on, but make the rest of your life as positive and as good and as joyful as it can be. Chris, how are we doing now with those comments and questions? I'm going to just turn this light up a little bit because it's gone a bit. We're having storms in Florida. And yes, for those of you who have already warned me, and I've got lots of different texts and different things, yes, a hurricane is heading this way. It's supposed to get here to where I am. It's supposed to get to Tampa sometime around Wednesday, but a lot can happen between now and Wednesday. Let's see if we can push it out to sea, shall we? Let's move it a little bit at a time, using our energy. Pushed out to sea where it can't do too much harm to anybody. Chris.
Well, if anybody's heard your Felucca story, they'll know that it's possible, right?
oh, yes, definitely possible. Definitely possible. Yes.
All right, Diana.
I also have a great wedding story about tropical storms, but maybe I'll tell that on Saturday.
Well, there we go. I'll have to write that one down. I love Diana's response and the word she's choosing to use. She says, and yet we are all interdependent, and that is good.
Yes, well, this is, I suppose, what I'm saying, because, about I'm dependent on my daughter, she's dependent on me. We want to be interdependent on each other. We don't necessarily want the freedom to be able to walk away from the people that we love. So when we're celebrating this 4th of July, I think personally, what I'm going to be celebrating is I'm going to be celebrating dependence as well as independence. I'm going to be focusing on all those people that I want to be dependent on. People like you, Chris. That's, I'm going to be focused on people who I want to be. Of course, you won't be here, will you? You'll be in California having fun, riding donkeys and feeding chickens and things like that, right?
I will not be riding donkeys. Yeah, no, I'm outside of Las Vegas. That would be hilarious. I might just have to get a photo of me almost sitting on a donkey.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sharon says, the ability to make my own choices, support my dad, and stand on my own 2 feet are her definition of independence.
I like that, Sharon. I like that a lot.
Rhonda says, I appreciate my independence so much more now after going through COVID and having so much of my independence taken away, which to me is being able to go and do what I want when I want.
Yeah. It's been hard for so many people with COVID. It's been hard for people all over the world, all around the world. And finally, we're coming out of that phase of our lives, and finally, we are sort of gaining back, let's say, our independence a little bit. But let's not forget, these things can happen any place, any time. It isn't where you go on the outside that matters, it's where you go on the inside.
Bob is saying independence to me is exercising freedom with equality for all and right to life, liberty, and happiness.
Oh, I like that, Bob. Love it. I love it. We should write that down. Yes, Chris.
Let's see. I'm going through just to find the independence comments right now, because we've also talked about bottom brickers in here too. Carolyn says, did your daughter need independence from you as a young adult? My 2 young adult children, are enjoying their new independence, and I'm missing their growing up dependence on me.
Well, when my daughter was about 5 or 6, I told this story a while ago. I do remember telling this story. We were in her bedroom. I was complaining about the mess because, quite frankly, at 5 or 6, I believe You know, kids can pick up after themselves. I'm not the maid here. And they're at that age where if they've been playing with their toys, they can put them away, or if they've been playing with their books and planes, they can put them away, etc. and etc. So, and yes, my daughter did play with planes, and yes, my daughter actually played. She had a garage and cars, whereas most girls have dolls and dolls' houses. My daughter had a garage and cars and things. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But I remember her saying to me, "That's it, hands on hips. I'm leaving home. I'm leaving." And that's girls for you. And so I said, okay, then let's pack your suitcase. I think if somebody is of that mind, no matter how old they are, no point arguing that, with them, is there, about it? Just help them to do whatever they want to do in the right way. And as parents, that's what we have to do with our children. And especially, I think girls want their independence from their mothers, particularly. I think far more than boys do. Yeah, then, and girls want their independence sooner. So yeah, I did a lot of things to give Samantha that independence. I bought her a car. I sent her to college. All of those things that we do as parents, and encouraged her to use that independence. But at the same time, I was very watchful and kept a very close eye on where she went in the car, what friends did she have, and so on and so forth. So it was sometimes a battle, because she sometimes did things that she thought she was old enough to do and I didn't think she was old enough to do. So, it becomes a battle. And this is where, anybody who thinks that parenting is easy, anybody out there thinking, oh, I'd love a baby, well, be careful what you wish for, because parenting is not easy. It seems sometimes when I'm out and about and I'm watching kids and I'm watching them interact with their mothers and their fathers, and I see the kids running riot. And I was in a restaurant the other day and I watched this couple eating their meal, having a really nice time, when their 5-year-old was running around, going to everybody else's tables, making a nuisance of themselves, and talking really loudly. And now that kind of parenting is easy. My kind of parenting is to hold the kid. Well, it wouldn't have gotten that far because the kid wouldn't have left the table anyway. See, I believe in tough love. I believe in discipline, and I believe that if somebody misbehaves, there are consequences. The consequences should fit the crime. They shouldn't be excessive, but nevertheless, I think as parents we have to teach our kids that there are consequences to bad behavior. And and that's called difficult parenting. That's called tough parenting. That's when your kid turns around and says to you, I thought we were going to be friends. I don't like you anymore. That's when you have those screaming matches. Did I give my daughter independence? I think so, but not as soon as maybe she would have liked it. How about that for an answer, Chris? Wow.
Oh, as you were talking, I was thinking about how many instances with my kids, that tug of war,
Oh,
independence versus dependence, and then even, this is my child, and then they go and get married, so now there's somebody else's husband,
oh, don't you
things
hate that?
things
You
like
hate
that,
that
like,
part, right?
"Hey, I had him first."
I
Yeah,
know. I know.
and that they're in an individual. They're not yours at all. You're just caretaking for them, really, helping them through
That's
life.
But I think I might have told this story before. I can remember when Samantha first came to New York, and I was the guarantor on her apartment. And so I went and was looking at the apartment, and I opened her food cupboards. And for anyone who's listening now, you must understand that I'm anal. Everything in my food cupboards is in a row. The labels turn just so. I can tell you exactly where everything is, not just in my food cupboards, but in every cupboard and every drawer in my house. everything has a place. Chris, you know this, right?
Oh my God, even putting things into your dishwasher have to be just so.
But don't do it because because I'll go in there, I'll thank the person for filling the dishwasher, and then I'll surreptitiously rearrange. Anyway, anyway, so I went into my daughter's apartment and opened the cupboard doors, and it was like and everything was just just literally spilling out of the cupboards. So I took everything out. I washed down the cupboard shelves and everything, and then I put everything back neatly where I thought it should go. And yes, I can hear you all. Was I ever wrong? And did my daughter ever tell me that I was wrong? Okay. She said to me, this is my apartment. She'd obviously grown up, really hating the fact that when I asked her as a teenager, please put the groceries away, she had to put them away properly, in my opinion, properly, the way I do things. So now here she was with this awful cupboard. She was rebelling against what she had to do when she was a teenager. So she told me in no uncertain terms, this is my home. These are my cupboards. Don't, I'll have them my way. I capitulated, and never ever again, that was many years ago, never again did I touch a cupboard, a drawer, a closet, nothing. Oh gosh, the temptation over the years has been so great. However, now you see, now we have a turnaround, because about 3 years ago, I went to stay with my daughter, and she said, Mom, with that voice when you know they're after something, and I said yes, and she said, would you mind I need some help. Could you sort my cupboards out for me, and my closets and my drawers? And I looked at her and I said, what? Now, all these years, every time I visited, her refrigerator has been a jumble. Mine is like everything in its place. Her food cupboards are a jumble. Not that she's incredibly neat and clean, and her apartment is really immaculate when you have the cupboards and the drawers. Not so much. So over the last 2 years or so, I said, okay, we'll do it on one condition, that you sit with me and you help me. But if I say this needs to be thrown out, you have to give me a good reason why it shouldn't be thrown out. And so over the last 2 or 3 years, and now every time I go visit, my job is to reorganize or put things back to the way that they were. And I was amazed. She sings my praises to whoever listens. My mum is so good at organizing. My mum is so good at doing this and this. So it turns around on you. So sometimes when your children, when they're younger, they don't like who you are necessarily, they don't like what you do necessarily, and then all of a sudden, as they get older and wiser, they can see the wisdom of perhaps listening to you a little bit more. That is a hopeful message for all of you out there with teenagers and 20-year-olds who you're battling with. Don't worry, it will come back around to them. It's so joyful for me when I see my daughter tearing her hair out over something my grandson did. And I just look and I smile, and I just look at her and I say, oh, I so remember when you used to do the same thing. So there's joy in parenting and grandparenting. Chris.
All right, in our chat room, I want to just give a big shout out to our Canadian friends and happy Canada Day today.
Absolutely happy Canada Day to all of you out there. And I hope the weather is great, and I hope that you're celebrating with family. That's what I hope.
Ekta, E-K-T-A, Ekta is asking, could you please give me some guidance on my career? I just recently quit my job and am hoping to be able to get another job in a different country. Will I get it?
I love the name, first of all. I was going to say it's going to take me far too long to do this for you today. However, I have a little tap on the shoulder. So Gregor is sort of coming in here to say that there will be 2 jobs offered. So, Hector, there'll be two jobs offered to you. Uh, one, you will get. No, that's not right. Wait a minute. Um, Scrub that out. Let me do this again. Get it right for you. There'll be two jobs offered to you. One, you will. One will be easier for you to achieve than the other. But do I see you traveling? Do we? Yes, we see you traveling. So there you have it. There, right there. Chris.
All right. Along the same vein, Elaine is asking, can you tell me if my dog Toby is ready to transition? I would be very grateful for any help.
I don't see this as along the same lines at all. Elaine and Toby. Um, so I'm asking Grey Eagle now. You have to understand that when I'm doing this for you, when I'm so relating to you, I'm so relating to the pain that you're going through. I had the same thing, as most of you know, in January with Cachorro, and I had to make that decision. And in the end, it was an easy decision, but I had a year of looking at him and knowing, and absolutely knowing that he would not last the year. And I did say to quite a few of my friends that I could see that he was on his way out. And I'm going to say, my darling Elaine, I think you know that he's on his way out. You might have to help him a little. Please don't let him. It's so hard, isn't it? We want our darlings to just be with us all the time, and we don't want to let them go. But at the same time, let me say this to you: our animals, and especially our puppies, whether they are however old or young they are, um, they have this ability, even if they're in pain, even if they're suffering, they have this ability to sort of, we don't necessarily know it because they don't show it outwardly always. I think Toby is tired and I think he's ready to move on. Um, you'll know, you'll know the right time, and you'll know that I will be one who'll be holding your hand there. And there'll be a lot of people who are listening who'll be sending you their energy and their love, because this will be a difficult time for you. But you know that it has to come, and you know that it's the right thing to do. So I think the answer to the question is yes. I think yes. Okay, Chris.
Bonnie's asking, can you tell me if my husband is going to get through his illness okay? I am so worried about him. This stress at 71 years of age is taking its toll on me.
Um, we're going to put him in our healing book. If you could just let us have his name. We don't need all of the details necessarily. What I'd like you to do is, as I say with all of my patients, so now your husband is my patient because we're putting him in the healing book, and to the family, just focus on, my darling, focus on what you can do. Focus on being there to hold his hand sometimes. Focus on being there to listen to him sometimes. But try, if you can, to allow others the bigger jobs, the heavier jobs, the jobs that are more difficult. Um, in these times, and I know that you have faith, I'm absolutely certain, I feel your faith. This is a time when, as hard as it might be for you, we have to live our faith. So I think you have to let go and let God. I think that he will recover somewhat, but not fully. Uh, but I think it will take its toll. We don't want to lose you, do we? So you need to step back and you need to have some time, some alone time, some time for you too. So not only are we going to put your husband in the healing book, if you'd allow us, I'd like to put you in the healing book too, because I'm going to send you lots and lots of loving, pink, beautiful healing. So let us have your husband's name and your name. Chris is going to put you in our little book, which means every single day, in every way we can, we're going to be sending energy to all of you who are in our healing book, and you'll be in my healing prayers, my lovely Chris.
Cheryl says, I already volunteered for the bottom brick. I'm super shy, so if I get picked, that would be one phobia to face.
All right. Well, you will see. Now, one of the things that we asked our bottom brickers yesterday was we asked how it was for them, and one of them did say something about how gentle I was and how caring I was. So, Cheryl, I'll hold your hand every step of the way, and all you have to do is to trust me. And if you can trust me, I'll guide you through it. And I think that we're going to find, some absolute revelations. So if we choose for you to do this bottom brick exercise, I'm absolutely certain that it's going to benefit you. Chris.
Jillian says, hello from Nova Scotia.
Hello, Gillian from Nova Scotia.
I find listening to the bottom brickers' stories inspiring and try to find ways to apply their revelations to my own life. They were very courageous to air their lives, good and
Yes.
bad, and I am in complete awe of those who do.
Well, Gillian, I agree with you. They are so brave. And wait until you hear their revelations. Well, they were fabulous revelations to me. And so when you hear those revelations, you'll be able to see, yes, they were brave, but I think every one of them in some way or another have benefited tremendously from doing the exercise. So, sometimes it's a little bit like jumping off a cliff, isn't it? If you jump off the cliff, you're so terrified you're going to be dashed down in the rocks below. But this is when, and I love this phrase, it's a Buddhist phrase, this is when you need to allow the winds of heaven to dance between you and your fate. And as you jump off of that cliff, in other words, as you brave your life and you dare to face the things that are going on in your life, it's amazing how the winds of heaven, the winds of those forces of God, those incredible God forces, they will lift you. They will not let you be bashed against the rocks below. Chris.
Bob says, is there any insight from Gray Eagle today on current conditions for myself and the world, depending on his guidance?
You're going to have to be, Bob, I'm afraid, a bit more specific, because that usually opens the door for so many different things. So if you could be more specific, I can perhaps be more helpful to you.
Sharon says, I had a horrible dream about my sister-in-law where she was causing a lot of chaos in our home, and I was trying to warn my dad. Is this just my fear, or am I being warned in some way?
Uh, Sharon, I remember one or two little things that we talked about, and I would say that I think two things are combined. I think the fear is quite real, as we know, um, and being warned, sort of perhaps having your mum whisper in your ear a little bit. Forewarned is forearmed. So just be aware. Remember what we talked about, and just understand you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. Oh gosh, I hate that phrase, but it's so true. So, yes, I think it's a little bit of both your fears and a little warning in there, my lovely Chris.
Sarah says, as I sit here talking with my daughter, we are trying to find out more about my great grandmother and her indigenous roots. Does Gray Eagle have any information regarding her?
Probably yes. Can I reveal that information to you, Sarah? I'd love to say yes to you, but boy, oh boy, that's very time consuming. So unfortunately, we will not have time for that. But it's one of these things that I have actually sat with people before now and worked on the family tree with them. And we have gone back, in fact, at least 150 years. I'm trying to think if we've gone back further. And you can investigate church records and all of that sort of thing. Um, and then there's what do they call that, ancestry.com. I don't know how good it is, but there are so many ways that you can find out about your ancestors. But I personally have actually definitely, and with some success, been able to help people with their family tree. I find it fascinating to do it, actually. Unfortunately, it takes more time than we have here today. Chris?
I find it so amazing how many nooks and crannies you can get into on people's lives. It's just amazing to me.
Well, here's the thing. I remember a few years ago, we were in a large audience, maybe 2,000 people, and I was giving a message to one woman in the middle of 2,000 people. Imagine it's like looking for the needle in the haystack, right? And I remember talking to her about her house and the renovations that needed to be done, and so on. And I very specifically mentioned a big crack in one of the tiles over her sink. I described where it was. I described the color of the tiles. I described the crack, and she's looking at me. She said, how did you get into my home? Well, we have our ways and means of getting into people's homes and getting into, as you put it, Chris, the nooks and crannies of people's lives. Because, look, this show is called The Spirit World Sees All. It's not. We don't say that lightly. The spirit world does see all, and sometimes when I'm really, really lucky, um, they impart that information to me. It can be quite shocking, let me tell you. Chris?
Diana says, "Thank you, Rosemary, for your wonderful live streams. I think many older people fear losing their independence. I have one friend at 90 who is independent 90% of the time. She doesn't like having to depend on anyone, but we are all interdependent."
It's so true, absolutely so true, and thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I actually, well, I've always liked people to help me. When I walk into a room, I always look for the best and the most comfortable chair in the room. I don't always get it, but I always look to see where it is. And usually people give me what I want. Um, Usually people help. I usually find that people, not just with me, but I find people generally help other people. And especially when I'm walking about with a creaky back, you know, um, actually that's the moment when I need the least help, because when somebody comes to try to help me, then that's when I say, don't touch me, don't touch me, because you never know when the pain will come. So much rather I moved slowly by myself. But we're all interdependent, as you said so. And I think that pride can be a really good thing, and it can be a really bad thing. Continuing to do what you want to do, continuing to live by yourself, continuing to think and to have the respect of other people, that you are a thinking person and you know what it is that you want or don't want. I think that that's important. But having too much pride, we talked about this the other day, not going to ask for help. If you are a person who is too prideful to go and ask for help when you desperately need it, just think of it this way. You can it's you don't want anything that you've not earned, or you don't want anything that you've not paid for. But once you get help, you can pay back tenfold. You can pay back in the way that you treat others. That fabulous movie with Kevin Spacey, uh, the Pay It Forward, it's called. And when the boy was killed, and people started paying it forward. Somebody does a good deed for you, you do a good deed for somebody else. So when you're thinking about pride and not wanting to ask because you're too prideful, think of it this way. If you are helped, that means that you can be a little bit more independent, and that means that you're able to help others. Maybe not in the same way that you need help, but certainly in other ways. Chris?
Mary says, Rosemary, you look beautiful today.
Oh,
My my older brother has been living with cancer for years, but I think a lot of his suffering is mental. When I'm near him, my body will get weak too, and I'm wondering why.
well, I've always talked about this to people who are healers or who give healing to others. Very often we're using our own energy, and our own energy can become depleted because we're using it or giving it to others. And so we have to learn to build up our energy and to feed our own selves. I talked earlier about my daughter and my grandson are food for my soul. So we have to feed ourselves. And sometimes when we're in the presence of somebody who is depressed or unhappy, certainly that can deplete our energy as well. And it seems to me that that is probably what is happening to you. It's a little bit like, and I've said this before, you're feeling really good and somebody comes to visit, and when they leave you feel really down, really and it's because they were down and they've sucked your energy dry from you, and you've allowed them to. Remember that it's not that they do it necessarily, but you allow them to do it. And what you have to do when that happens is you have to do those things that build your energy back up. So finding things to do that are joyful, that are fun, or relaxing, or just giving back to yourself in some way. It's also the case that if you're not feeling great and somebody comes to visit, you can feel so much better when they've left because they've brought into the house this fantastic energy that they have. And rather than you bringing them down, they've brought you up. So we all want to be that person who brings the other person up, but we also need to be aware that when we are giving or when we're around people who are sick or depressed or whatever, that can deplete our energy. So we must be aware of that. And once we're aware of it, that means we don't allow it. It means that we can be more positive around it and not allow that person to suck our energy away from us. Chris.
Sarah says, I've been thinking about my grandmother a lot and feeling a presence around me that's been lifting me up and changing my direction in life. I'm feeling so much love coming my way right now. I find myself excited and nervous. Am I on the right track? Sending
Oh
love your
boy, are
way.
you.
Many thanks.
You are. Are you ever on the right track? You know you are. Are you just looking to me for confirmation? Well, here you go. I'm giving it to you. Absolutely, you are more than on the right track. Please stay on that track. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Chris.
We had a couple of comments related to your stance on parenting. So,
Okay. Uh-oh.
no, these are good. Diana says, I agree with you, Rosemary. I am old school as well. I taught my children manners and responsibility. They are all young adults who work full time and go to college. Then Maggie says, a lot of people who have children want to be friends and not parents. And then Bridget says, Samantha and I are the same soul sign. I can so relate. Haha, poor mom. You can come organize mine next.
Actually, Samantha is my daughter's beautiful. She is great, and she has so many fantastic qualities. But boy, oh boy, when she gets on a bit of a rampage, it's not easy. But she would say exactly the same about me. Fortunately, we are both earth signs, so we both have to plan and so on. She just does it in a different way than me. That's all. Chris.
Gary says, I'm just laughing. I remember having to empty a cabinet in Rosemary's kitchen to do some work. It was funny watching Rosemary's face.
Yes, well, when people go into my cupboards, I start to get, watchful. I say watchful. I start to get watchful. And Gary, you know how watchful I can be. And when everybody's finished going into my cupboards, then move out the way because now I've got to put them right back where they belong or how they belong.
Maggie says, my oldest once called me on the phone, made me promise not to say anything, and said, Mom, you were right. To this day, I still have no idea what I was right about.
Maggie. Don't ponder it. Just take it. Just take it. My daughter, uh, well, I'm trying to think, has she ever said that I'm right about anything? I'm not sure, really. Um, you know, but her actions speak louder than words, and I don't need for her to tell me I'm right. I was going to say because I know I am. Oh gosh, there you go. See, Chris. Moving
Cheryl's
on.
Cheryl says, when we get older and understand why our parents did what they did, many times those parents are deceased and we can't tell them. Now I understand.
Yeah, which is why you see, I always smile to myself when Samantha and Reese are having these things going on between them, and they have a fantastic relationship. I mean, oh boy, Reese loves his mother more than the moon. I come a close second. At one point in his life, I think when he was about 4 or 5, he would say, "I love you and Mama the same." Now I've sort of slipped down the rung a little bit. He says he loves Mama first and me second. Piper the dog third. His daddy's somewhere down the line there. I'm laughing. But kids have these ways of working things out in their own heads, don't they? So I'm up there. And boy, oh boy, I mean, the joy that I get from my daughter and my grandson, I mean, such a gift to me, such a gift. Right, Chris.
Betta says, last night I dreamed of my grandmother holding my hand. In the dream, I was a little girl. She
Oh,
didn't say
nice.
anything to me. We watched the sunset together. What does this mean?
Well, I think your grandmother's trying to say to you better that you'll always be her little girl, and the sun will always, always be there, even when we can't see it. So even in your darkest hours, remember that the sun is shining for you. But I think she's really saying to you, I'm holding your hand no matter what. You might not be able to see me, just as the sun goes down. You might not be able to see me, but I'm still there. Chris.
Tracy's saying, I'm back from work and glad I have caught you both live. Love from
Good.
Yorkshire.
Oh, whereabouts in Yorkshire, Tracy?
We'll hear
I'd
that
love to
soon, I'm
know.
sure. Gail
Pardon?
says, I said, I'm sure we'll get a response.
Yeah, come on,
Uh,
Tracy. I want to know, where are you from Yorkshire? Where are you, my darling? Yes.
wasn't Tracy the one who you knew, the mom who had some kind of a restaurant? I think
I'm
so.
not sure.
We have so many people here, but I think so.
Fish and chips.
Yeah.
Tracy, is that your mummy? I love your mum. She's lovely. Anyway, keep going.
Gail says, I have been trying to resolve a dispute with a contractor since March. My
Oh,
choices are one, do I just pay the invoice and be done with it? Or two, should I go to court to fight to recover the additional expenses I incurred because of his neglect?
well, I'm not going to be very helpful here. It's your choice. It's. I don't actually think that you would need to go to court. When Chris and I were talking about this yesterday, I'm not a litigious person. Unfortunately, every time I've had to get a solicitor, it's cost me far more money than I can afford. So here you have a dilemma. Um, I don't think I would pay him personally, but can you go to a mediator? Can you go to do something like that rather than going to court? Um, if you don't pay the bill, will he take you to court? I mean, what's going on here? It's a very complex situation. I would love to be able to help you, but you've got to sort of, the one the one idea is, oh, just goodness sake, pay him and get him out of my life, get this awful energy. But on the other side of things, there's a moral dilemma here. I'm not paying somebody for not doing what they said they were going to do. How far is he going to take it? So there are lots of different things in there. So I'm not being very helpful to you today, but following your heart is always a good plan. Chris.
All right, so Bob's coming back to us. Thanks, Rosemary, for insight on doing what we can do. I have had the COVID long hauler symptoms since the end of October, beginning of November. Thankful for adding me to your little book of those who need healing, as so looking forward to ending these symptoms. But specifically, Rosemary, on advice from Gray Eagle would be about the fear of not working for several months from long hauler symptoms, and any advice regarding that.
First of all, our little book gets bigger and bigger by the day. It's never been such a little book, our healing book that you're referring to, Bob, and we are still sending you healing, as I'm sure that you know. Let me see here. I do feel that there is going to be a struggle with work. I also do feel that you will come through it, maybe a little scathed, maybe a little exhausted, but you will get through this. And I'm confident that you'll find a way to live and to survive, and also, most importantly, to find that happiness and to find that contentment that you so really, really need. So please keep me posted on how you do, my love. The advice is to take care of yourself. The advice is to go and bang on somebody's door. What does that mean? Gregor is saying you need to go and bang on doors because there are people who are ignoring you. Perhaps it's governmental people who are ignoring you and ignoring your plight. Remember, the squeaky wheel gets the attention. You need to get somebody's attention, and you won't do that by wishing and hoping or putting something off or delaying. Go knock on doors, go bang on doors, make your plight known and get help, because I do feel that you can. Keep us posted, Bob. Chris.
Carolyn says, my Cavalier was sick a couple of days ago. We took her to the emergency room. Her tummy is settled, but I have to get her bilirubin checked in a week.
Her what?
Bilirubin?
I don't know what that is, but anyway.
So she's looking for some advice on her dog.
We are going to, well, first of all, if you can tell us what that means, that the bilirubin, I don't even know what that means. It's a term I've never come across. And I've had 2 or 3 King Charles. They're beautiful little animals. Anyway, we will put that little creature, if you could let us have his name, we'll put him in our healing book. Please let us know what that other thing is, and we'll definitely work on that, but we'll definitely put him in the healing book.
Carson says, I just wanted to say I'm going through the class lessons again. Very interesting the second time around. I will post about it on the Facebook group page by the end of the week.
Great. And Carson, if you could jog someone to, because we're still waiting for our monthly, I don't know how long it is since we had a night together, but we need to have a night together. So if you could sort of jog someone's memory, or whoever's turn it is to organize it, that would be great. Chris.
All right. We're getting thanks from all the people that you've given messages from. So I'm just going to, in general, say they're saying thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Monica says, good evening, Rosemary. In renewing my esteem, I ask you kindly, can you greet my mother and ask her if she was always near me? Thanks. Many greetings from Italy.
Monica, I'm not quite sure why you're asking me this question, because you know, don't you, that your mother is there with you. And when you're asking me to talk to your mother, but here's the deal, and you know this too, my darling. She hears you so much more clearly than she hears me. But yes, a shout out to her, absolutely. But do remember that when you're talking to her, stop and listen. You know, don't just keep talking at her, talk to her, and take a moment to listen or to feel or to sense, because she is around you. Chris.
Sue is asking, can I have a reading, please?
Certainly you can. Do you know what you have to do to get that? We, in my little world here, we don't call them readings, we call them consultations. A reading implies, to my mind, you see, here we come back to the cupboards and the anal stuff and the drawers have to be a certain way, and the cupboards have to be a certain way. So allow me my little anal moment here. When people talk about readings, and I know it's a very general term, it implies to me that we are reading people's minds, or even reading the mind of the person in the spirit world. So just to clarify, before you come at me and say you want to talk to me, I do not read people's minds, whether they are here on this earth or whether they are in the spirit world. That is not what I do. I have conversations. So if you'd like a consultation with me, there you go. If you would like a consultation with me, my darling, I'd be overjoyed to give you one. Email Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com. While I'm on the subject, for those of you who are asking, because we did have to cancel last Saturday's webinar because it was Chris's memorial. First of all, I think the memorial went well, and Chris, if you'd like to mention that in a minute or talk about it or not, it's entirely up to you. But we are planning our webinar. We are doing a new webinar. I shall be giving messages from the spirit world to many of you who attend the webinar. It will be a 3-hour webinar where I'll be giving messages. Greg and I, that's all we'll be doing. We'll be giving messages to all of you. And of course, you'll be able to ask, can you talk to my mother, my father, whatever. And if we have time and we can do it, we will absolutely do that. So that's what we'll be doing in July, on the
24th.
21st?
24th.
24th. On the 24th of July. So if you want to join in with that webinar, if you are hoping for a message from your loved ones in the spirit world, you can go to our website, and that is rosemaryaltea.com. Just write in rosemaryaltea.com. It'll take you straight to the website. It will tell you how you can buy a ticket to the webinar. It will tell you how you can join in. It also gives you an opportunity to subscribe. And if you subscribe, Chris is about to send out the newsletter in the next day or two. We send out a newsletter every month, and it keeps you appraised of what we're up to, what we're doing. And it's a fun newsletter anyway. And I put my little piece in there. It's going out this month, July. So you will not be inundated. We will not inundate you with emails all the time. I promise you. 2 or 3 a month is all that you'll get from us. But subscribe. If you subscribe, it makes you an insider. So you get all of the news of what we're doing before everybody else does. So go to the website, rosemaryaltea.com. Chris, I know we're coming up to time. Do we have time for a few more?
Well, we are over time, actually, but Sharon responded back saying, "You know what's incredible, Rosemary? I saw this exact quote, 'You can catch more flies with honey than vinegar,' right before your session today, and now you said it."
Oh, well, there you are, a little reminder, my love. Hard to do sometimes, but I think maybe worthwhile in your case. I wish you joy with it. Yes. Anything else, Chris?
Tracy's from Harrogate.
Oh, okay. And is Tracy, was Tracy's mummy the owner of the restaurant in Doncaster? We want to know. Or maybe not. I love Harrogate. I remember now Tracy from Harrogate, because Harrogate, especially in the springtime, when you drive into Harrogate and all those amazing daffodils and the blossom trees and all of that stuff. Yes. Okay. Anything else, Chris?
Carolyn's letting you know Billy Rubin is about the liver, and Lucy is the Cavalier's name.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be sending Lucy healing. I'm trying to think, do we have any stuff going on? You can get, I'm not sure if this will help at all. You might want to run this by your vet. But you can get cranberry powder. Buy it on Amazon. It's not expensive. You put a little tiny bit in food for the puppy, and it sort of keeps, it sort of cleanses gets the blood flowing better. It's brilliant for urinary tract infections, for not just for animals but for people as well. You just put a little bit in your food or in your drink and have it that take it that way. Um, but you know, it something like that might be helpful. We'll think on that. But in the meantime, my lovely, we'll definitely be sending Lucy here. Absolutely. Keep us posted, would you, Chris?
All right. So Mark's saying, love you both. Always feeling the love and intuitive peace of my spirit guide and angel G, not spoken verbally yet, but my hunches from them are on.
Good.
And Carol saying, I'm still looking for somewhere to live and a stable to work out of. Does Gray Eagle have a word for me, please?
Carol, oh, we've been thinking so much about you over the last couple of days, my darling. Chris and I have had long conversations about you. You know, try so hard in your situation. Try to be positive. Try to keep your head down a little bit. You might have a little bit more grace than you think you do. And it will work out. It will work out. You'll be fine in the end. But what a tough ride you're having. So our thoughts and our prayers are very, very much with you. Whereabouts? You're in California, I do believe. Whereabouts
No,
are
she's
you?
near the Superstition Mountains in Arizona
Oh gosh, why am I thinking California then?
because she used
Uh,
to be in California.
oh right, okay. So if anybody out there knows of someone who can help Carol, um, in her quest for work and a place to live. She has a beautiful puppy. Can you let us know if you can help? If you know of a stables, Carol is an amazing horse trainer. I suspect that Carol is also um, a healer of animals. So Carol, keep chin up, darling. It's going to work out okay. All right. Keep us posted, sweetie. We've been thinking about you and sending prayers. Okay.
I
Chris,
think that's it,
anything else?
Rosemary.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it for this morning. Is it for the day? Could we come back tonight? Could we do an off the cuff? I think we have to do something later on because Chris is disappearing tomorrow. Not for very long. We'll be back on Saturday with our story time. But Chris, where will you be? You'll be in California. That's what I'm thinking of. You'll be in California.
Nevada.
Uh,
I'm going to Nevada.
why am I? Why am I getting
Are
it
you
wrong
traveling to
today?
California?
No, I'm actually going to New York very
I
soon here.
know.
Woo! Get excited. I'm going to be starting my packing this weekend to go traveling for the summer to see my daughter and my grandson. So we're all on the move, aren't we? All right. So right. So we may later on do an off the cuff because Chris is going to be traveling tomorrow. So you're not going to get an off the cuff unless she does it tomorrow night. Depends what time she gets there to Nevada. We'll see. Anyway, all right, you never know when we're going to pop in and out. But on Saturday morning, we will be doing a story time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we shall be popping in and out throughout the rest of the week. Story time, I'll tell you a story. And yes, you get to answer questions, get to ask questions, and I get to answer them. So we're looking forward to that too. So until I see you, maybe later on today, you never know, until I see you again, please, all of you out there, have a very, very blessed rest of the day. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to say thank you to Chris. I'd also like to say thank you to Grey Eagle for just because. Why not? Because. All right. So please, everyone, have a very, very blessed rest of the day. And if I don't see you before, have a very, very great weekend, very blessed weekend. Bye bye, everybody.